You've opened the Dungeon Master's Guide and seen some insanely powerful magic artifact and thought, this is really cool, but I can't use that. Or more insidiously, maybe one day when the players are high enough level, I think you should just give them that dope item right now. Why not? It's a cool item and it's fun and it'll be memorable getting a really high level item early on when it's really overpowered. I can't believe I got a Holy Avenger at level 5! But what if that breaks your game? Don't worry. I can help you fix it. Welcome to Mystic Arts, where I'm going to recite some Bible fanfiction that happened organically at my table. My name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 10 years. Nate the Wizard opens the door into the Death Knight's study, and inside you find his collection of weapons, a mithril longsword, a greatsword with red rubies, and a small collection of potions.
I think I pocket all of them.
You also see in the corner of his armory there is a curious sight. A comfy armchair, and next to it there's a nightstand, and on it, a hefty tome.
I go and open the book.
The moment you lay your hands on it, a string of thoughts flash across your mind that are so wretched and vile and dark that you black out for a split second. And before the moment has passed, you find yourself retching and then barfing sick on the floor.
I wrap cloth around my hands, and then I put the book into the bag of holding without physically touching the book.
Add the Formless Tower's Book of the Profane Word to your inventory. In my setting, the Formless Tower is another name for Vecna. It wrote a book and put all of its horrid, vile, and dark knowledge into it. My player there just found my own version of what is basically the Book of Vile Darkness, but it's even better because it has a mechanic whereby you can learn spells that aren't in the player's handbook. They are evil spells. Spells like Stop Heart, that gives your target a heart attack, or Wall of Eyes and Charnel Fire. They're game changers. And by giving him that book, I've done two things. First, I've given him access to the mechanic in the book that lets him learn these new spells. And second, I've given myself permission to have the bad guys know these spells in the future. A villain can now cast Stop Heart on a player, since those spells exist in the world and previous users of the Book of the Profane Word could have learned those profane words needed to cast Stop Heart. The thing about magic items like this, proper artifacts, is that they change the nature of the campaign, as they should. Suddenly, the game becomes about the artifact, at least to some degree. And that's my point, really. You can make a campaign center around a powerful item, or hell, even just a single plot line in your campaign can be all about this powerful item, and that kind of does all the heavy lifting for you. Players won't want to give up the powerful item because it's an item they have and it's powerful. And the bad guys want this powerful item because they want power and this item is powerful. And if the artifact is something evil, like the Book of the Profane Word, you'll also have conflict within the party. This video is based off an arc that lasted around 9 levels in my game at my table over the course of about 3 years. One player, Nate the Wizard, found the Book of the Profane Word inside the study of a Death Knight he killed, and he told nobody. When Natalia the Bard challenged Nate on this secrecy, asking what he found inside the Death Knight's quarters, Nate said he found nothing, and Natalia didn't believe him. So she asked me to roll an insight check with her +10 modifier. I said sure, and the player got an 18 on the die for a total of 28, a number that would be tough for Nate to beat with his +9 modifier. But of course, he rolled a natural 20 and got a 29 and beat the DC, and none of the characters would find out about the cover-up for a couple of years. I mean, the players all knew, but their characters didn't. Every night, Nate would seclude himself in his room and start reading the bad book, hoping to unlock its secrets, learn its spells, master the dark powers to one day be able to bend them to his will so he could use them to kill the Babeeg. The players watched in horror as Nate took precautions to avoid the barfing or collecting levels of exhaustion while he meddled in things best left alone. He tested out one of the spells, Clutch of Death, on a cute little bunny rabbit and pulled its heart out, a trick he'd later use on an ancient black dragon. Same difference, really. When he attuned to the book, his stats changed. His strength was lowered, his intelligence increased, and his weight shrank. He described these changes to his physique to the players without explaining where they came from. There had just been a long period of downtime, so they hadn't seen him for a couple of years, and the other players concluded that his use of tobacco, alcohol, and late nights was making him look sickly. But it was the bad book. Nate knew that if the rest of the party found out he was studying the Formless Tower's vile knowledge, they'd ostracize him. So he studied in secret until one party member found out and exposed Nate to the others, and an explosive confrontation happened at the table. All we did that night was discuss the morality of his actions and if he could continue using the book or not. How they felt betrayed by his lying, concerned the Formless Tower would take control of him and use him to kill them. It was like a negotiation. The players wanted him to stop. He wanted to master every weapon possible to fight the seemingly invincible Beeg. In the end, they let him continue exploring the book, but they wanted to keep a close eye on him. Lazarus, the sorcerer paladin, prepared Disintegrate as a spell explicitly for, in case we need to kill Nate. Lazarus had meanwhile been studying his own powerful artifact, the Book of the Holy Conduit, a book created by a loyal cleric to the mother of all things. It's kind of the counterpart to the bad book, the good book, a book with spells for angelic beings who want to fight evil. Lazarus saw it as his duty to fight Nate when the time came. But here's the brilliant bit. The absolute genius of all of it is that I didn't orchestrate any of this. I just gave the players powerful artifacts, because items like this are actually story engines. Have you ever been flipping through TV and noticed just how many damn cop shows and hospital shows there are and wondered why? I bet you don't think about hospital workers nearly enough to warrant them being a solid 40% of the scripted shows on network television. But they keep making new shows like that. Why? Because to a screenwriter, a hospital is a story engine. Same with a police precinct. It's a place that can generate stories. There is seemingly an endless array of crises, crimes, illnesses, and interpersonal drama that pop up just naturally in these places. You don't even have to struggle to think about what happens next in your story. Hell, most of the time, you can just turn on the news. This is also why DMs often eventually hit upon the idea of a road trip campaign or a nautical campaign. Travel is a story engine. You go to new places, discover that stuff is funky in some of these places, you solve the thing, and then get back on the road again. Think Supernatural, or Star Trek, or Doctor Who. It doesn't matter if it's a spaceship or a Chevy Impala, it gets the job done. Well, an artifact can be the same thing. It can have a story baked in. For the Book of the Profane Word, it's about the morality of fighting evil with evil, about risking exhaustion to study the pages and learn new spells. In the Book of the Holy Conduit, it was about sacrifice. The book was created in front of the character's eyes when a cleric sacrificed himself to make it. It has a 9th level spell in it that's all about self-sacrifice, and in the end, Lazarus died holding the book, sacrificing himself to try and save his friends. Another organic moment that came out of these items. There's also the classic of magic swords that desire violence. There's Craven's Edge from Critical Role, or the iconic glory-hungry Black Razor. And all of that is not even mentioning the bad guys who will want to send lieutenants to steal these artifacts from the players. Endless assaults from the Beeg's minions to try and steal the magic item also has a story engine built in. Is this item worth all the hassle? But you can flip the script, give the Beeg the artifact, and have the players learn about the Mind Flayer who took the axe of the Dwarvish Lords. Not just because they'll be wondering if the Mind Flayer grew a beard, but also because that means this Mind Flayer can command Earth Elementals. You can give a Death Knight the Book of the Profane Word and have him use the book against the player characters before the PCs get a chance to kill the Death Knight and take the bad book away from them. This is a lot of fun because the players will see the powerful artifact in action before they get a chance to use it themselves. It can also be so satisfying to use an ability you've been hurt by on another bad guy later in the adventure. That use case might be tricky if you're thinking that something like the Book of the Profane Word would be cool if a character tried to take it in secret, but not really. You just have the Death Knight cast spells that nobody recognizes because he's got them memorized. He doesn't have to hold the book. Then the player who finds the book can later learn those spells and connect the dots. Oh, this is that false sending spell he used that made us think our allies were already here when they weren't. I could now cast sending on our enemies with false information. That can be so much fun. You can also create these push-pull mechanics throughout the story. For the Book of the Profane Word, it's about learning spells. Once you learn a spell, you know it, you can memorize it and put it in your spellbook. But you gain exhaustion when you study the book. So there's a bit of that risk-reward mechanic. How much do you study? How much do you wear yourself out? You could put these little quandaries into the game. They don't have to be mechanically complex to be interesting. Quite the opposite, in fact. Simpler design is often better. I remember building out these magic swords that got better the more you used them. And I had a whole system for tracking when they'd get upgraded to a higher level of magic sword. And the idea was that I could give a player a magic sword early in the campaign instead of the player always getting new magic swords. This one sword could improve with the players. So I figured out loyalties and wants and needs. And then I read Explorer's Guide to Wildmount and saw that Matt Mercer had designed a better system for the Vestiges of Divergence. Each magic item has 3 stages: dormant, awakened, and exalted. They start out dormant and can evolve as the game goes on. According to the book, DMs can use the following examples as guidelines for shaping the evolution of a Vestige of Divergence. A character overcomes one of their greatest fears, bravely facing an otherwise paralyzing phobia to save a fellow party member. A character is beaten within an inch of their life by a long-hated foe, and in the face of defeat, they feel a deep, dormant strength grow from within. A character loses a close ally in battle, their anguish and fury stirring the power within a Vestige of Divergence. A character discovers a facet of their destiny that guides them towards a dangerous cause. Setting aside their fears, they accept their fate and responsibility. A character successfully takes vengeance against a rival who long tormented them. A character known for their restraint gives in to the amoral, violent urges that a Vestige of Divergence was forged to hone. And that's fantastic. You could even decide to bake the level up into a specific moment or trigger. Pick one from the list. A magic item that wants glory will only level up if what? Well, that's up to you. But you can then tell your players that, and they might go chasing after that moment, after that story, and now they've received a gentle nudge towards something amazing. You can do this to pre-existing artifacts if you want. Find them in the DMG, take them and break them down into 3 levels and call them dormant, awakened, and exalted. You can do this to Black Razor and then give it to someone at lower levels and watch as the sword consumes that player's life as moral debates rise from the conflict. Or you can build more gradual power curves into an item, like learning spells from the Book of the Profane Word. Both the Book of the Profane Word and the Book of the Holy Conduit are available on the Patreon for Mystic Adepts. They're not just a pair of artifacts, because together they contain 54 new spells you can use as parts of the item or drop into your game as options for the heroes. Or the bad guys. Check the link in the description below. Of course, it's scary giving powerful magic items to players, and it can be a bit petrifying. Like, what if you ruin your game? Yeah, I get that. That's why I recommend you start small. Don't give an item that's OP right now. Give them a powerful item that becomes more powerful as you goes on. Something that levels up with the players, either by being attached to spells and spell slots, or by growing like the Vestiges of Divergence from the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. But what if you mess up? Well, you can talk to your players and nerf the item. Or you can buff the enemies against the item. There's always solutions. And besides, if you don't start messing with these things now, you'll never get good enough to stop messing up and actually rock the design from the start. So go try this and suck for a bit, and then get good by the time you do it a second or third or fourth time. That's how you build skill. I genuinely think you can build campaigns around a single artifact. Who wants it and why? What happens if they get it? What happens if the players get it? What can it do in the wrong hands? What will it do to the right hands? I said in a previous video that you can start by planning a campaign at the back and work your way to the front by planning the villain first. And this advice is supplementary to that, not contrary. There's a million ways to plan a campaign and a million ways to play the game, but I've often built whole adventures, campaigns, characters, or plot lines around a big, powerful magic item that I like. Hell, it's the easiest way to create a standalone adventure if you remember our episode on that. Here's what you do. You pick a magic item, like the Book of the Profane Word, and you decide it's being hunted down by 3 factions. Let's say there's paladins who'll try to destroy the book, which would forbid the players from using it in their scheme to fight evil with evil. There's a cult who wants to use the book to kill the paladins and also cast Spread of Savagery on a whole city to turn it into a bloodbath, so that's not ideal. And finally, there's a lone actor, a lich who wants to study the book forevermore and maybe ascend to godhood. When the players hear about these three options, they may decide to get involved and steal the book for themselves, or they may decide to sit back and see what happens, decide the paladins have it handled. Well, that's when you have the lich kill the paladins and the lone survivor finds the PCs and begs for their help. Three factions wanting a magic item is one of the easiest ways to build an adventure quickly. So if you don't know what adventure you're doing next, that was one right there. Go change the bit you didn't like and go run it for your players. And if I still haven't convinced you, all I can say is, honestly, stop being afraid and try it. This is just a game about goblins and dragons, and you can play a perfectly balanced game on your gaming console or Steam account. This is an RPG. Make it be a little bit stupid and see how much joy that's going to bring to your players. How much terror it brings them when the bad guys use the powerful items too. Wars should be fought over artifacts. They are the nuclear weapons of the fantasy world. Hell, in the real world, wars were fought over artifacts, and those artifacts couldn't bend reality. So yeah, kings would be going bananas over this stuff. Go put it in your game. And that's where we'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend, and if you want to support us directly, I don't think that's going to work. Consider joining our Patreon and get access to the Book of the Profane Word and the Book of the Holy Conduit and the 54 new spells. And if you're feeling especially generous, you might like the video, comment, share, or subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos. Until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.